If magic is humanity's divine birthright, then I think many of us would question, do we even deserve it? Ah, my little hunter. Well, I guess I'm not so little anymore. You've probably put quite a few people in body bags at this point. But it was all for a good cause, right? But today I'm going to discuss something I've been wanting to get around to. Now, I've made it a point in several of my little lectures here that monsters have humanity, that they aren't as different from humanity. And I've always framed that as a good thing. I've always framed the fact that, something has humanity as a sign of it being better or gooder. I'm going to straight up tell you right here now, though what I say then is not entirely false or anything, today is not that video where that lesson is going to be preached. Today I'm going to discuss to you exactly the group of people who are 100% human as far as psychology goes, but yet still do awful, horrible things. Mages, wizards, witches, warlocks, sorcerers, whatever you wish to call them. The point stays the same. We all know who I'm talking about. People who manipulate the magic in the world, or make magic, or however it works precisely. Now, you might think yourself, but why are you discussing this? Shouldn't this be like nothing? Well, I feel it's important to reframe how dangerous a wizard or mage truly is. And I also want to describe the psychology behind them. Now, of course, there's a lot of talk about where does a mage get their powers. Some of them seem pretty certain. Like, after all, some clearly dabble in the dark arts. Others, are seemingly born with it. But then again, some people just awaken to it. And exact legends of where they get it among their own kind are inconsistent. Some say magic comes from a golden age, or that we fell from heaven's grace, and this is just what we have left. Others say that was back during the age of Atlantis, when a mighty empire rose, that we had magic. But regardless of who or what you believe when discussing it, the answer is simple. Normal people who have done nothing but be people in their lives have awakened to magic. Sometimes, maybe only a few times, but definitely sometimes. So, I do feel it's worth reframing. Every mage you see was once just a normal person who just lived a normal life. Unlike you, before, your chance encounter. Now, of course, that just makes what they often do worse. The fact they were normal people, living normal lives, who are occasionally willing to do horribly awful things. And what one will do with magic, I don't think I have to describe all the crimes that one could, and many have, committed. And one of the things about that's most horrifying is that it's fundamentally human. It's not some alien desire implanted by a moon god or the dark spirit of a demon. No, that's just human nature. To when you have power, to use it and exploit it against the wishes of others. And the fact that that is some part of humanity should be a bit disconcerting to anyone. And I think you would agree. Also, it throws your perfect little hunt a bit out of the window, doesn't it? See, many hunters like to imagine that it's a clean slate. There's us and then there's them. But mages are a bit different, aren't they? They are fundamentally people as far as psychology goes. And so all of the stuff they do is just human stuff. So, are you really going to say, this person needs to die because he committed murder with magic, but you're not going to stop a person who just murders someone with a gun? Is there really a practical difference in that? Is there really? Is just your purview? Are you going to make laws and boundaries like that out of thin air? And of course, there's more questions beyond that. Mainly speaking, why do humans even have this power? There's a lot of reasons I could go into. A lot of hunters seem to suspect that is fundamentally wrong, against the natural order for humans to manipulate magic, or have anything like that. But it also, one could make an argument. Now, many of you hunters are religious and follow something that could vaguely be described as Abrahamic religion. Now, not all of you, of course, not even, say, most of you, but it's a common enough preface in conversation and text that I shall use it as a jumping board for this argument that I've heard. If humanity is the children of God, or the Maker, or the whatever you wish to call the divine being that made humanity, then would it not stand to reason that something made in one's image would be able to have powers similar to that of its creator? Is that all magic is? Just a diluted form of the shadow that is humanity to the all-powerful creator? I will not answer that question, because it's not my place to answer, and it could also be a completely false paradigm if such the universe does not work out like that. But it is something to think about. Is magic perhaps perfectly natural to human nature? After all, if their psychology is perfectly natural, they obey human morality, or at least how humans would think, then is it not logical to assume that, perhaps the magic is natural on its own right? And realistically, what's the practical difference between the average magic user and an average imbued? I mean, you guys have classified an entire group based purely because they are lucky. That's their only power. They have the ability to be really, really lucky. And you guys can shine holy light from the sky and do other ridiculous stuff. So, realistically, if I were to look at both of you, which one is more supernatural or wrong in your eyes? But of course, all that is just child's play. In the grand scheme of things, throwing a fireball is no practically different than a Molotov cocktail. Being able to regrow limbs is nice and all, but just put you back to ground zero. And being able to turn into a cat or whatever is cool, but cats already exist. All these things exist on some practical level. Magic in many ways is just the ease of which one can do it. However, bending reality is another matter entirely. Many mages speak of this thing called paradox, that they believe that fundamentally magic only works or has trouble working when there are people around it. It needs to be kept away to the unawakened or the sleepers. That is why you don't see people flying around on magic carpets or shooting fireballs in New York Street, because the world or humanity deems it as unreal. Of course, what we don't deem as unreal can get a long way. As they would argue, how do you know that a car isn't magic? How do you know that it's not powered by esoteric forces beyond your knowledge? And the only reason it works is because the subtle magic of all humanity allows it to work. Because we think a car works, therefore it does. How many of our technological wonders are really just humans believing something works so hard until it works? I mean, after all, if one human has the potential magic capability to create a fireball, or do something else like that on their own, if all of humanity collectively agrees that a car or a plane or a cell phone works, then that thing is probably going to work. After all, according to the terminology, they say unawakened, but not unexisting. When you're asleep, you still exist. Your body still exists. Your mind still exists. At least in most philosophies and scientific studies. So therefore, it would stand to reason that that's not something unreasonable. Not all mages exactly look the same. That's a common misconception. They all don't wear wizard hats and hang around their ancient crypts and towers. No. A lot of them look very different. And a lot of them seem to use technology. Perhaps magic is technology. Perhaps on some level, all technology is magic, or all magic is technology, or perhaps there is no discernible difference between either. And in which case, do you hunters have to now murder anyone who uses a cell phone or drives a car? That is something you had to think about in these dark nights, as it turns. The line between human and monster is forever a blurry one, and the mythical age of when it was clean and easy has long since passed. That doesn't mean you stop your mission. It just means you have to be a lot more careful about what you do. Because there are people who are dying to bad people. All monsters who roam in the night. The question is, of course, are you going to kill them because they look different? Or because they've actually done something different? And who gets to judge such matters? And at the end of the day, if you were to succeed in your mission to kill all the monsters and save humanity, we'll be left to pick up the ashes. Until next time. Yeah. Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.